3, 2.
I got everybody pregnant with Barry Katz and semen.
I'm not comfortable with the tone this is taking.
If you're undeniable, you will not be denied.
If you want to be successful in show business, you get yourself a Jew white manager like Barry Katz.
Being a manager is just turning no's into yeses.
Creating holy shit moments. Undeniable.
You're fucking firing me up, Katz.
I love this man.
Is there anything else I should know?
You're on. What? Now I'm on the air.
Barry Katz, back in the house.
Let's do this.
All right. What an honor. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my guest today, the man, the myth, the Fu Manchu legend,
Whoa.
the human highlight film of comedy, Bobby Lee.
See that? I always give myself 2 claps. It's good to be here, Barry. I'm so glad that I'm here. Thank you so much for asking me to be here. I really appreciate it. This is a blessing being here. I'm telling you that right now because you are a fixture, my friend.
Once more with feeling.
No, I listen, dude. I was telling my manager, not my manager, my girlfriend. They're the same thing. My girlfriend last night. She goes Kalila, and I go, oh my God, I can't even believe I'm doing it because of the fact that there is an intimidation factor with you because when I was a young guy, your name still holds, but is a scary name in terms of a good thing in show business and in comedy.
Do you know that
you're a legend?
Thanks, man. You know that I don't even realize what you're saying as being factual. Because it's hard for me to think that anybody would be anxious.
Oh my God. I mean, it's like when you're a young comic in LA and they're like, who do you have as a manager? And then you're like, if somebody said, oh, Barry Katz, it would feel like, oh my God, you're making it, or it was just one of those things that people were. I'm not intimidated as much anymore, my friend.
I hope not.
Don't have power. You don't have power over me.
I
feel great.
I'm very anxious being next to you.
Why?
Because
I don't realize how big your fucking hands are. You have like fucking monster hands, dude. Look at those things.
I know it's one of the few things in my life that I am confident about is my hands.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have such nice hands, my friend.
Thank you. Take me.
No, thank you.
All right, just check. No, I'm anxious and intimidated by you because Kalila is one of the most beautiful women in the entire world.
Yeah, she's
smart and she's funny and I mean, God doesn't give with both hands, but he did with her.
I'm pretty much unfuckable, and I've always have been. And when any girl wants to be with me, I'm absolutely shocked. But with her especially, I'm very shocked. Every day I'm shocked because I don't move much. I don't good. I'm terrible in the bed.
But she can't.
Why that pause? I was really like, you're supposed to. When I say that, you're supposed to go, no, you good. But I said it, and then you just let it sink. Now it's weird.
Because I have no evidence of the fact.
I'm telling you that I don't. I don't good.
This is the thing about...
Oh, isn't it that kind of podcast? We can't get...
No, we can do anything.
Okay.
I love this. This is the thing about Kalila and my instinctual thing about what she sees in you.
What?
Is that she has a genuine spiritual old soul connection with you. And when you have... And when you have that kind of connection with a guy, then it doesn't matter what's happening because it's still better
She's
than
a
anything
babysitter.
else.
I'm being real right now. I've never said that out loud before, but she's a babysitter. She has to deal with me, and I'm a slob, and I act like a baby. But I don't move. I don't do nothing, but I make a living, No
one that looks like that and is as smart as that is with somebody unless there's something about them that fulfills them.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Why would she be with you if she wasn't fulfilled?
She is fulfilled.
That's what I'm saying.
I know, but
she loves taking care of you. That's one of the things that she loves.
You're right. You got all serious there all of a sudden.
She doesn't love being with a guy who takes care of himself and makes his bed and everything's in order. Then there's nothing for her to do.
Yeah, that's true. God, you're so smart.
I love being around you.
Why?
Because you do something that very few people do for anybody off stage as well as on stage. Mm-hmm. You make them happy.
Well, let me tell you something, Barry. I'm in this business because, I did it at first because of survival. I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and this seemed, when you first discover stand-up, it's like a rebirth, really, And then I let I let my ego get carried away for a while. You think to yourself, oh, my God, you're killing the game right now, and you're on fire, and then you torch everyone around you. And then what happened to me was, after about almost a decade of that, I was humbled, and I couldn't get work, and it was hard. And I just kind of let it go, and I've decided to just treat everyone like I'm, I want to be of service to people. And because I'm sober and I learned all those things in the programs that I'm involved with, I tried to carry that over into, the clubs and stand-ups, I don't really give a shit anymore, really, This has been a great year, but it really just doesn't really mean much, in the long term, You when you first get some success, you literally think that that you're different than everyone else, and it turns out that I'm absolutely not. In fact, I have a lot of character defects, and I'm frail.
What you said something that really fascinated me. Like, if you were to say, what are the things that make you happy? Like, truly, without any jokes. Like, what you say, I don't give a shit. I'm just like standing. Hey, this year was a good year, but what are the things, if you had to put a true serum in your veins and say, these are the things that make me happy, number 1, number 2, number 3, what are the things that truly, when you're your happiest?
Well, if I state them, you're going to be like, wow, that's weird.
No, it's not. Nothing's weird.
Well, one of them that makes me really happy is when I get an achievement when I play video games.
Got it. So when you get the...
Like, I was playing this game called Stardew Valley, and it's a farming simulation game. So you farm, right, and then you get married, and you have kids in the game. And my crops were, flourishing, and things were good. And then I started, I bought a bunch of pigs on my farm in this game, right? And then they found truffles for me. So I started making truffle oil. And I make hundreds of truffle oil a day. And I sell it in the market. But all of a sudden, one day, last week, I was playing. I sold a shipment. And all of a sudden, my Xbox went blink, like that. And it said, legend on it. And because I made more than $10 million in the game, within the game, that felt good.
That's awesome.
It felt real good.
Okay, so that's number 1.
I love playing video games.
What's
number 2, I like, doing sober stuff. I like being involved in, I can't get into the programs at all, but I like doing that spiritual kind of that kind of work.
When you say you can't get into the programs, you can't talk about it?
I can't talk about it because it's not, you're not allowed to talk about it.
You can talk in general terms.
Yeah, in general terms I can, yeah. Because I believe that, I've been sober for 16 years now. So that has a lot to do with, my happiness, I guess. I was suffering when I was out there. I've always been in and out of programs.
That's okay. I edit. Everything's edited, so don't worry about it. So do you go to meetings?
Yeah. I go to meetings and I...
every day?
Not every day now, no. In fact, not as much as I used to, but I still am involved.
How many people would you say that you have changed their lives only in the area of the program? Like people that you took under your wing.
It's hard to.
Like they weren't in meetings.
I mean, there was. I mean, first of all, I've brought guys to meetings and stuff, and I had one guy jump out of my car halfway during the ride over there, and I never saw him again. But there's a couple of guys that are sober. I don't know if I'm the cause, but they say that I brought them to. But I don't, I just go and then you want to go, and then they come. But
do you speak?
I think that I help more people in stand-up than in I do speak, than in that program. But I got a lot of people into stand-up, and I remember when I was the host of the open mic at the Comedy Store back in the day. There's a lot of kids that stuck around. They're doing very well now.
Who are they?
Well, guys like Ari Shaffir is doing well. Morgan Murphy is doing well.
Morgan's an incredible writer-producer on Kimmel, I believe.
Yeah. There's a guy named Kevin Christie that I got into stand-up. Like my friend Benji, who was on that show with Esther Pavinsky, when he was in college, I remember seeing him at open mic going, you have to do this. So there's a lot of kids that at the time, here's the thing, is that Missy Shore once told me that it is
Missy Shore, by the way, is the owner of the Comedy Store. I like that.
I love it. Yeah, Missy told me once. She goes, "It is a sin to support mediocrity." So if I see a kid and I believe that he has the stage presence and the writing to do it, I encourage it. But if I see somebody that doesn't have it, I'm really a cocksucker.
And this is one of the things that do you mind me going toe-to-toe with you and Mitzi?
Yeah, go ahead. I love being toe-to-toe.
So one of the things about when somebody says that, and I've heard people say that all the time, not all the time, but more than once, about it's a sin to support mediocrity.
Yeah.
Most people listening in every profession that they're in right now, whether they were studying law, being a doctor, a 7-Eleven manager, or an actor or stand-up comedian, in the beginning, you are mediocre. I mean, a lot of times you don't even have, there's a lot of great comics I know, and you know as well, who you saw them early on, and they were bombing a lot. And then
That's not what I mean, though. That's not what I mean, though.
But how they look like they're mediocre.
No.
Okay, what do you mean?
I'll give you an example. Like, for instance, someone like Morgan, right? She's, at the time when I knew her, she was 18, 19 years old. She had this puffy orange hair, gangly.
Still does.
She still does, yeah. And she is basically, she's kind of like Annie with gigantism, really, and
I want to describe Morgan a little more.
She's beautiful. I'm not saying that she's not.
She's a beautiful woman, but she's also like, you can always tell when you're around incredibly intelligent people in this world, because they're a half step or a quarter step behind the rest of the world socially. They don't really talk like other people talk. They don't mix like other people mix. And she was one of those people, but always phenomenal.
And when I say Annie with gigantism, I mean that she's a beautiful girl. She's just tall, and she's really cute, and she's super talented. Now, when I first saw her, it wasn't as if she was killing on stage, but it's a sense when you see it, right? You go, there's something about this person. Everyone has that. Sebastian Maniscalco was terrible on stage when I first saw him,
and he was one of the people I was going to allude to.
Yeah, but he was not great, but there's still something there, right? There are people that, guys that I know that have been doing it for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, who they just don't have it, right? You see them around, he just doesn't have it, and so that's what I mean, and that could be just my opinion, who knows? But that's what I was told, and I try not to do it. I try not to encourage people to do it. That I feel like, and at the end of the day, it's like, when I started, there was a guy in San Diego, this guy named Stan, and he pulled me aside at an open mic, and he goes, I just been watching you, and he said, I just don't think that you have it. You don't know anything about comedy timing, right? And I remember listening to him, going home and crying, right? Going, oh my God, I'm going to quit, because this local guy from San Diego told me that I don't have it, right? But I didn't, because I disagreed with him. So in many cases, I'm probably wrong, but still, I don't do it, because I just, because I heard that from Mitzi, and I think that it is kind of, here's what it is, especially in stand-up, I don't know about acting, but in stand-up, it's an addiction. It really is. When you go up on stage and you get laughs for the first time, you just really, it's like getting shot with adrenaline. It's like getting shot with God. You're fulfilled with this feeling of a spiritual awakening in many ways. When you kill and then all of a sudden the whole room, you're the centerpiece. You get off stage and people are like, "Oh my God, you're amazing tonight," or whatever. You get filled with this, and it's like if you do that with somebody that doesn't belong or doesn't have the talent, it could fucking go wrong real quick, man. That's all I'm saying.
When you're at the comedy store,
Yeah,
you're oftentimes working on these lineups on the Comedy Store, and you look on the lineup, and every comic does this. They put their finger down the list.
yeah.
And in their mind, they're doing the mental checklist. Oh, Kirk Fox, funny.
Yeah.
I like him. Oh, this person. Why the is this person on this show?
I don't do that because anyone that's like at the Comedy Store that's a paid regular that gets a spot, somehow they deserve to be there because they went through all these hurdles to get on that lineup. I mean, I could look at there are people out there that have never made me laugh, but I go, that guy deserves to be up there because the audience likes them. They have a fan base. Their particular sense of humor doesn't strike me, but that's fine. That's not what I mean by mediocrity. What I mean is that I know a guy, he can play you a set of his and go, "Hey, listen to this, I'm killing," right? And you hear complete silence. There are people out there like that, right? Do you know people like that?
Of course.
Yeah.
I killed,
and they didn't. That's what I'm saying. At one point, somebody told them that you got it, right? And in somewhere in their head, it affects their ears, and that's all I'm saying. But
number 3 on your list of happiness.
I mean, my parents are still alive. I think whenever they call, I feel happy.
Do they tell you that they love you?
Oh yeah, I mean they're very vocal. My parents Koreans are very. I don't know about Koreans, but my Korean parents are very they wear everything on their sleeve, and they've always been like that. You look ugly today. Like there's no editing system in their brain. So it's like when my dad says "I love you," you kind of go, "Yeah, he does." There's no. My parents are working class, hands-on immigrants, and they worked 16 hours a day for all their lives, and they struggled to support my brother and I. My brother and I were never we're the worst kids that you could possibly have. we are the worst kids they could possibly have. They don't even deserve us, but they had us, and we were a nightmare. But I think that I especially, my brother too, we do everything we can to repay them, But my parents, they're still alive, and I'm grateful for that, and it makes me happy that they are. I also want to show them that they didn't f*** up. There's a part of that where it's like, I just need to show them that through all the hardships and my behavioral problems growing up, that at the end of the day, I want them to feel like it was worth it,
You have shown them.
Yeah, but I want to show them more, But I think that they are proud, and I think that, I think it worked out. I think if my brother and I hadn't gotten sober and we were still in that behavior, doing that behavior, that it would have been really a nightmare for them. But I have a lot. My brother and I both have a lot of time behind us, and we're both doing pretty good. So, that's a gift, and it feels good. And then the fourth, I don't have a fourth. I don't think.
That's okay.
I only have 3: video games, family, and sobriety. Here's what I want to say about Kalila, and this is real, and I've said this before, is that. I met her on Tinder, okay, and then 5 years ago I was on Tinder and we matched, And I go, because she lives in Long Beach, right? And at that time in my career, it was dead. I mean, I had really barely a career. I was doing the road.
This was if I could set this up for the audience, what happens a lot with artists, and you don't even understand why. You do a run of a show, and you're like on top of the world. And so Bobby did MADtv for 7 or 8 years.
8 years.
And then what happens is when you stop the show and it gets canceled, sometimes you experience lulls. Sometimes a year or two. I think for Bobby it was 3 years.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years. And then I had another run. I think in 1 month I got like Animal Practice, which is an NBC show. I got booked. I did The Dictator, the movie, and then I did one other thing in 1 month. That was like, oh my God, I'm back on fire. And then those things disappeared, and then I was back, in the slums. I mean, not slums. I was still happy.
And if you haven't seen The Dictator, there's this amazing scene where Bobby gets out of a room or an elevator, whatever it is, bathroom,
Ed Norton,
and he slaps Ed Norton in the face. It's incredible.
Face, yeah. But so so when I met her, then nothing was going on, and so I'm like, I'll just drive out there. We had coffee, and as soon as I sat and talked to her, I just thought, there's just something different about her. And
what was it that was different from her from the other?
Well, the number one is that there was this long couch. We were at a coffee shop, and she sat really close to me, and she looked me right in the eyes when she was talking to me, and she was completely and 100% focused and in the moment and present. And I was like, wow, this hot chick is like really trying to listen to what I'm saying, and she really cares about what I'm saying, and she's absorbing everything. A lot of times, I just have really poor physical image of myself, where I'm like, I'm fat, or I'm small, and she was beautiful, and she's really close, and I was like, wow, this girl's into it. And then we didn't hook up right away. We spent some time getting to know each other, but what ended up happening is we started dating, and then she has something about her where if I'm not, like, for instance, I'll get an audition and I'll read it and I'll go, yeah, this is not for me. I'm not going to go in. Right? And I do that 9 out of 10 times.
But she does what I do with artists.
She's like this. If you don't go in, you're a I go, but I'm going to bomb in there. She goes, well, then bomb. But you have to try. Right? I remember, like, there was a pilot where we were outside of NBC, right? And we were in the car, and we were about to get in a fist fight. I'm like, I don't know this material. There's so many fucking lines. You know what I mean? I can't go in there. I'll look like a fool. Right? And she's like, if you don't go in there, and I go, I'm a and then we just kind of fought back and forth. Even my time, like, I was supposed to be there, inside the room at sign in at 12:30. It's 1 now, and we're still arguing outside the thing. And she just kind of got on. We're outside now of the car, and she gets on her hands and knees. She goes, "You fucking asshole! Please go in. Just read it off the page." And I went in there, and I looked at her. I go, "I'm gonna eat it, and you have to deal with this nightmare." Right? I went in there. I just read it off the page. I left, and then that night I got it. I got it. Right? And she looked at me and she goes, I told you. You don't try. You don't go, because she goes, a lot of times they don't care if you memorize the thing. They just want to see if you're the right guy. Right? And it was a pilot. I booked it. I mean, it did help that I knew the showrunner. I mean, I knew Scott, but
Scott who?
Scott Armstrong.
Great
guy. Great guy. Scott Armstrong, and Scott told the producers, "Yeah, I know he didn't memorize it, but I'm telling you right now, he's great." And they're like, we know. And so they got. I mean, I did test for it, but.
And when you tested, you were prepared.
I was on fire. Yeah, but my point though is that if she hadn't made me go in there, I would have never got it. And she made me do it with love. She made me do it with a bunch of things that I got, right? And the podcast, we have a podcast together, and she's like, well, I'm just going to go buy the equipment if you don't want to do it. I'm just going to buy it anyway. She sets it up in the room. You know what? You don't want to do the podcast? I'm just going to do it on my own. That's what she said. So I'm like, I'll do it. And we did it. And so with that and with me going in a lot.
It became one of the most hugely successful podcasts. Not hugely successful,
but we make money from it.
Bobby, there's 450,000 podcasts, and yours is always in the top 100.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that tell you?
I don't know. Because I detach myself from that process. But let me tell you something. TigerBelly, which is my podcast. And
what was the second choice for a name?
I don't know. There was not one.
What is TigerBelly?
I don't know. She goes, what do you want to call it? I go, just say it's TigerBelly. She's like, why? I don't know. It would have been that or Nosotros Papaya, which means we are papaya. So
keep going. I'm sorry.
Anyway, and then all of a sudden, so she's in my life. I'm booking stuff, and then.
How long are you together?
This took now 5 years now in.
No, but at this point when you're getting the
a year, and then now I have a show coming out March 27th. It's called Splitting Up Together on ABC.
So funny.
But
I saw you on the Oscars.
Oh yeah. Well, they showed a little thing, but but that's all from really Kalila's insistent, support and encouragement, And I never realized or thought that a partner would help you do those things. I think that's what I've always wanted, really. It's just someone to encourage me and someone to, support me in that way, and she did. So it was like I won the lottery, really, to be honest with her. So when I say my top three, I just always make an assumption that she's the number one. That's not even something that I even have to state, that we're like one person. Yeah, she's very important to me.
Now, if she were like here and you were outside the room, and I were to ask her, when you sat down at that couch in the coffee shop in Long Beach, because you can see what you wanted in a partner, which is amazing right now, and which is really, again, another profound thing about you. You just mentioned all the things about her that fulfill you. But when you went to the meeting at the coffee shop, you didn't know what you wanted.
Yeah.
You just wanted to be with a great girl who you can hang out with and not have any commitment or anything like that, maybe. Who knows what you wanted? I don't know what you wanted. Maybe you wanted a commitment. But if I were to ask her, when you sat down, Kalila, next to Bobby and looked in his eyes, what were your visions of what you wanted that would fulfill you as a woman? What would she say?
What would she say?
Yes.
I don't know.
After 5 years, you don't know?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
What is it about you? What do you do without making a joke and saying, I do nothing? What is it that you do for her?
Oh, I do a lot. I mean, I think in many ways,
like, what she does for you.
Well, I mean, I think that what I do for her is, well, some of it's like, she has a physical thing that happened to her, where she didn't operate. I don't want to get into it, but she's sick, right? It's not life-threatening. At times it is, but right now it isn't, right? And in many ways, I supported her in that. And she likes the ocean. She was a swimmer in the Philippines, like in the national team. She won awards, and she was magazines and newspapers.
I shaved my head twice for swimming.
Yeah, you seem like you have a swimmer's body.
Not anymore, but I do.
Well, I know. I was saying back in the 50s, 40s, whatever, when they had, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
With Buster Crabbe and all those.
Yeah, right.
Johnny Weissmuller.
No, and also, you think that I want to go to, like, she's like, I want to go to Hawaii because this is the time of year that this happens. So I fly her there. We go together. We go in the ocean. 2 weeks ago, we were in Tulum in a lagoon, and I'm swimming in a lagoon. What, you think I fucking want to do that? No, thank you. But I do it for her because I know that that's what she enjoys, right? And her and I laugh, and we're together 24/7. So it's like, I do a lot for her.
How long before she moved in with you?
About a year, yeah.
And did you initiate that?
I mean, at that point, you could just go, okay, this is not a fling. This is not obviously a one-night stand kind of a situation. This is a real thing. So I just decided, let's just do it. And she moved into my house from Long Beach. And here's another thing she did. I just thought of this. This is a huge thing that she's done for me, which is, growing up, I asked my mom for a cat. She goes, Bobby, I don't want the cat. I go, yeah, but I want an animal. No. I go, yeah. Okay. So we went and got a cat. His name was Tom. Right? A week later, the cat's just gone. And I'm crying. Oh, where's Tom? I don't want a cat. She said. She got rid of it.
Without telling.
Yeah, without telling me. Right? And then years later, we got a dog. Right? And I go, because I asked for one. And she goes, I don't want the dog. And then one day the dog was gone and the pool man had it. The pool man took our dog away. She goes, I don't want it. Right? So then, as life went on, high school, whatnot, I just started hating animals. My parents, I just had their idea of animals, they're there to eat. Right? We're not friends with them. And so in my 20s, if I saw, I hate to admit this, but if I saw a dog, I would think to myself, I wish I could just rev up my car, and just plow it over or whatever, right? I just never had, I was the kind of guy where if my friend's dog died and they were crying, I'd be, you pussy, go get another one, you know what I mean? That kind of a thing. So when I first dated her, I spent the night at her house, and she had harbored a kitten. She found a kitten, Ming, right? A little black and white piece of shit. And when I would spend the night at her house, and Ming would sleep on my shoulder. It was like a little ball, right? And I just wanted to grab it and throw it against the wall, right? I couldn't sleep, right? And then one day she was going out of town. She's like, can you take care of Ming? And I go, yeah, but I don't know how. What am I going to do? She just feed it, get a litter box, do the whole thing, right? So I went into the store, I bought it, and then one day, Ming just looked at me one morning and just went, meow, like that. And I locked eyes with it. And I go, hi. And then we became, because Ming doesn't like anyone else. Ming doesn't like strangers. She'll just run under. If she sees you, you'll never see her again. But with me, she looked at me as if I was a dad or a friend, And I fell in love with Ming. I did. I went to the sushi restaurant, and I spent $100 on ahi tuna and all these, like sashimi. That's what she eats. As if she was you know what I mean, my sister or something, or a daughter, and everything she wants, right? And then Kalila moved in. I'm like, we got to get another animal for Ming. She's like, well, let's get another cat. So we went and got Gooner. We went to this orange cat. I mean, Gooner is literally, I love Gooner more than I love my cousins. If my cousin died, Andy, I would be devastated. But, I'd get over it. Eventually, right? If Gooner died, it's devastation. It's end game. I can't even fathom life without Gooner, right?
Did Gooner get along with Ming right away?
Oh, yeah. Gooner's the best. I play video games. Gooner used to sit on my head. He would balance and watch me play. I have photos on my Instagram of it. And then one day, my girlfriend gets a call from a fireman. Do you call him fireman?
Yeah, fireman.
Fireman? Man?
Fireman. There's one fireman.
It was one fireman.
Yeah.
I got a call from one fireman. She got a call from one fireman. And he goes, she just knew him. He was from, like, Long Beach. Because I know you're into animals, but we have another kitten here that's about to die. Right? So Ming. Kalila goes, let's get in the car. We go to the fire station. And there was this, it looked like a fetus. I mean, it was like almost dead. We went to the vet. We went and got the ointments and the little milk. And every 3 hours, for days, even at 4 a.m, we would take turns, looking after Bojo to see if Bojo was alive. And we nursed Bojo to health. And Bojo's our third cat. Bojo's, number one, I think has Down syndrome. Number two, Bojo doesn't know who the fuck I am. Bojo will look at me and go, who the fuck are you? I raised it as a baby, right? Bojo is he just walks around. He doesn't nothing, right? Hi, Bojo. It just looks at the sky. It doesn't know, right? I love Bojo as much as I love all my other cats. And then we have
What about your cousin or Bojo?
Bojo for sure, for life. I love my cousins. Though.
You have 2 dogs too?
I have 2 dogs now too. So it's like I have 5 animals, and I used to hate animals.
Your house must smell like you own a mountain lion.
Yeah. It's disgusting in there. But let me say this, is that without Kalila, I would be animal free. And she introduced me to that world, which is a huge one for me because now I know this for a fact that I will always have animals in my life. And I couldn't believe, my parents never really supported that. That was something that I wanted as a kid. And she lit that back on fire, that desire to, be with animals, So she did that for me also, as well.
Do your parents like Kalila?
Oh, my God, they love her because my dad had Kalila, so she went to college. She's a nurse, registered nurse. And my dad got a stroke. He had a bunch of strokes. And so he's wheelchair bound. He can't talk.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it sucks. And this is how crafty Kalila is and how amazing she is. The first night she meets my parents, we spend the night at my parents' house in Phoenix. That's where they live.
Did she meet him before he had the stroke?
No.
So she met him when
I bring her into the house, and he's just like, who the fuck is this person,
But he has his mind.
His mind is there, yeah. So then we spend the night, so at like 6 a.m, I'm sleeping, and I hear just laughter downstairs. And it's Kalila and my parents. She had gotten up, and she had helped my dad get in the chair, the tubing, because she's a nurse, right? And they're like playing cards and, and instantly, right? That's why I love this girl, is she just intuitively, instinctually, she knows how to do it. Life.
What about her parents? Do they like you?
Oh, my God. Her mom, right, is at my house every fucking day, bro. Right? And her stepdad they're all involved in our lives. And not only that is that, her friends and my friends, they all intermingle, and now everyone's friends. And here's the last thing that Kalila did. So years ago, I used to watch the UFC back in the day, like
With The
Tank
Rock.
Abbott. What?
I'm kidding.
Hey everybody, it's Barry Katz, and I wanted to talk to you about Blueprint for Success. This is a community that I put together during the pandemic to help all artists of every walk of life in the entertainment business. No matter where you are in that part of this journey, it's designed to help you. There are podcasts with people that will inspire you, like Kevin Hart, Judd Apatow, Bill Burr, that you can't find anywhere else but on this program that I've interviewed, to times where we get to talk to executives in the business that you would never have access to tell you what you need to hear and to answer your questions, to all sorts of different videos and master classes designed to help you get to the promised land. That's what the blueprint for success is. Doesn't matter whether you want to be a stand-up comedian, a sketch performer, a podcaster, an actor, an actress, director, writer, social media person, whatever you want to be. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've had the honor and been humbled to represent people like Chappelle, Wanda Sykes, Louis C.K., Dane Cook, and probably over 20 other people who went from a studio apartment to being a multi-millionaire and a household name. And I want that for you, and I wanted to take the time with this program to be able to help you on your way there, to get there and to heighten and increase the trajectory of your career. Blueprint for Success is the way to go. I'm proud to be a part of this program, and I'd be proud to have you to be a part of it too.
And I just kind of lost interest in it. And then she's really into mixed martial arts, and I'm just fucking knee deep in that too. So it's like she, you know, there's just a bunch of shit that like she's done for me. She's rekindled old things. She's introduced me to new things. She supports me in my career. She's just absolutely an amazing thing, and I'm really blessed to have her in my life.
Now, her or your cousin?
Oh my God. Yeah, you're fucking. I love my cousins. By the way, I have 28 first cousins, and if you're listening to this, and I love all of you, you know, so deeply. I'm just saying that I love Gunnar just a little bit more.
Gunnar or Kalila?
Oh my God. It had to be Kalila, but it would be heartbreaking.
All right, I want to go way, way back.
Oh.
Take me back to the town you grew up in, what your parents were like with you, what your brother was like, what was the socioeconomic dynamic there,
My parents,
and then what was your first inspiration to getting into comedy after that?
Okay. God, I love this. This is old school. New school, old school.
What do you think? You're playing with kids?
You're an adult, are you not? You're the best.
I want to be.
I know you are.
You know, I always loved you, Bob.
I've always loved you.
All right.
Well, you know what? I grew up. My parents met here in the United States, but they were back in the late '60s. They didn't really speak English that well, and they met, and they shouldn't have gotten married, but they did. My dad he's an alcoholic. My dad was very abusive. My dad was scary growing up. He didn't go to school. He was a street kid in Seoul. Like, if he would like mug people, or he was like a hustler, my dad. But when he came to America, he became he had 3 jobs right away. He had UPS. He worked at like an ice cream store, and he that's all he did was work. And he met my mom, and then my mom left. He was stalking her. She moved to Wisconsin to get away from him, and he followed her to Wisconsin, and he found her house, and he bought steak, like a fresh piece of meat, and he goes, "I love you. You know what I mean? Here's some meat." And I guess it, you know what I mean, melted her heart away, because, you know, they started, so then they had me, and
I'm going to have to try that.
yeah, meat works every time. And so they had a clothing store called Fashion Gal. It was just a chain of clothing stores. My parents and my uncles, they had 75 of them, a lot.
75 stores?
Yeah. Across the country.
Wait, and so when did their first store open?
probably in the 70s sometime.
Now, Fashion Gale or Fashion
They're all
Gal?
closed.
Fashion Gal or
Gal, G-A-L.
So all for women.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hence the name.
Sorry. And so, how old were you when they opened the first store, or were you already?
I was a kid. I don't know.
But that's an amazing accomplishment for a guy who's an alcoholic who's struggling to open
He's
up.
He's Korean.
What does that mean?
That's all they do is work. They know how to work business. They're hard workers. My dad.
What happened to you?
I don't. That's what I'm saying.
You don't work hard.
I know.
You're Korean.
I know because I wasn't raised in that culture, right? I'm an American. All right. I think that it's a cultural thing, not in the DNA or genes or I think it's, Koreans use their success and the success of their children as trophies to show off in front of their other, relatives or friends and whatnot. But and I was born into the world, and I was a f***ing nightmare. I've always have been. I grew up. I woke up. And I just lit things on fire. My brother and I were just terrors. But you know what? We were living in. My parents lived in Minnesota at the time when I was a kid.
So you grew up in Minnesota?
Well, I was born in San Diego, and then they moved to Minnesota, and I lived there for like 10 years. But those were dark years, man. At like 2, 3 in the morning, my mom runs into the room, and she opens her mouth, and she has a tooth missing. My dad punched it out, right? And then I remember like my brother and my mom trying to barricade the door so my dad wouldn't get in. And
how old were you then?
I don't know, 7.
How do you recover from that?
Oh, you do. You recover. You live. But that has a lot to do with my behavioral problems too, right? I mean, you live in this environment and then you act out, right? So that's why I became. I think that I was born a drug addict, but I by the time I was 15, 16, 17, I'd been in institutions in and out.
You mean 5150 institutions where you're a harm to your own life and they put
No, like drug facilities.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
When was the first time? How
old
were
you? 12, maybe. Yeah.
12. Who introduced you to drugs?
So we went from Minnesota, and then we went to we moved back to San Diego, right? When I was like 11 or whatever, 10, 11. And this kid had a skateboard, and I remember him flip it over, and he had like marijuana. And he was rolling a joint, and I walked across the street, and I go, "Can I have some?" And my dad was such an alcoholic that we had a garage that my mom would fill. It was like a liquor store, like she would fill with alcohol, right?
So she would get him the booze.
Yeah,
but she was sober.
My mom?
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom doesn't drink.
But she would get him the booze.
Yeah.
Even though he punched her in the face.
Yeah.
When she was.
Yeah. And.
Have you ever asked her why she did that?
No. It's she was a codependent and she's enabling him and whatnot, but it's also back in the day in the Korean culture, the man was the man of the house and the mom would do everything she could to support that guy. I mean,
if your dad cheated on your mom, would she?
He would never do that. He's like I am. What is it? Unless he paid for it. He doesn't have sexuality with my dad has never been a thing. It's been with me and my brother. We're f***ed up sexually. But like sexuality has never been a thing. As far as I see it, my dad doesn't have a dick. I've never seen it. I would hate to see it. It'd be terrible.
Well, he's Korean.
And what are you saying? Is it small? Is that what you're saying? You f***ing asshole? Is that what you're trying to allude? That small?
Jews and Koreans.
Jews have big dicks. At Pauly Shore, I've seen his dick so many times. Dude, Pauly Shore's dick is like a ride at Magic Mountain. It twists. It twists, right? There's a loop, right? It goes backwards. You can go on it backwards, right? People wait in line to get on it. It's like.
So he shows you his curved penis.
Oh, my God. He used to lay it on my head when I used to go on tour with him. just like this, and I would sleep with his dick on my forehead like this.
Did you name it Ming?
No. There is no mid.
Nothing?
That monster.
Not even a laugh on that?
I hate it. No, I laughed. I laughed. People listening, they're
I
laughing.
didn't know Pauly Shore had a large...
oh, man. Every Jew that I know has one like that.
Sorry to disappoint you.
Barry, come
Always
on, man.
takes
Your
one.
dick is probably girthy and nice.
As Lenny Clark would say...
Yeah. What
I'm not hurting the national average, but I'm not knocking walls down with a stinger.
yeah, that's you.
So
we moved to San Diego.
But I wanted to ask you something about your parents because this is interesting. So, so you never had a direct conversation with your mom or your dad alone somewhere and saying, "Hey, Dad, why don't you get in the pro?" Or your mom, "Why do you do this?"
All right, first of all, I don't know the Korean language, and my dad knows 8 words. So there's never
So he still doesn't speak English.
I've never really talked to him. I mean, the communication's like, I love you, I'm hungry. I mean, that's simple,
But your mom.
My mom's very verbal. She's written me letters. I mean, she's very verbal. She wants to learn. She's learning Spanish, right? I mean, she's always been vibrant with energy. So he flips it, I smoke, and then I just became really just in my middle school and in early high school days, I was just a drug fiend. My parents, I stole like $15,000 from their safe through a couple of years.
And they never knew it.
They never knew it, yeah. I was able to support myself as a drug addict because my parents were doing very well at the time, their business, and since they were always working, they were never really around.
How much money was in the safe?
Oh, thousands and thousands.
And so you were methodical. You knew I'm going to take a little bit so it won't be noticed. What did you take each time?
100, 150, 200, but they never noticed.
Do they know about that now?
Oh yeah, I've paid them back. But thousands. And
your brother too?
No, my brother at the time was a Christian. He was a wrestling star on the wrestling team, and he got straight A's. My brother only became a fucking crazy person in his 20s, where he was just a dropout, right? But
dropped out of high school or college?
I mean, he graduated like 8 years. He went to college or whatever. He graduated, but
you go to college?
No. What happened with me was this. I believe that everything happens for a reason. I do. I believe that I just put one foot in front of the other, and then things just unfold the way it's supposed to. You always have to take action, right? Like, if you want to be a stand-up, you have to do it, right? But other than that, I don't really worry much about anything else, really. So what happened for me was my parents kept throwing me into these institutions, and then when I was 17, I went to this place called the McDonald Center. I was in my junior year in high school. And it was in La Jolla. So when I went to the McDonald's Center, it was like a 60-day lockdown facility where you had to wear pajamas and stuff. I met a bunch of kids from La Jolla that were going through through treatment with me. And then so when I got sober, I met all these guys so I would go to AA meetings in that area. What else is at the comedy? The Comedy Store's in La Jolla.
One of them,
yeah. But that's my connection to La Jolla, right? Was originally going through rehab there.
So the first time you went to the Comedy Store.
Well, no. What happened was when my brother went to ASU and my parents decided to open a store in Phoenix. They closed all their stores in San Diego and they moved to Phoenix with my brother, right? And then what ended up happening was I had to move out, and I moved to La Jolla. So then I started getting jobs in La Jolla, like, waiting tables.
I'm sorry to interrupt you here. Did you resent the fact that your parents, both of them, followed your brother to ASU and they rallied around your brother and they left you to your own devices?
It was just coincidental that they were opening a store there as well. I think they were even planning on opening one there before my brother even got into ASU. So it was just a timing thing, really. Right? So and I was so happy that they were moving. I don't know. I didn't give a But I was out there in La Jolla, and I was waiting tables for years, working at coffee shops and working construction. And then one day, I was working at a coffee shop, and I showed up one day, and it was closed forever. It said that was a sign. There was no cell phones at the time, so I showed up and just said, we're done, or we're out of business. No one told me. But what was next to the coffee shop? The Comedy Store. And they had a help wanted sign. So I went next door. And I just knocked on it. I go, can I get a job? And there was a guy named Fred Burns at the time that worked there. And he was a comic. He was paraplegic. He had spinal bifida.
He walked with the Canadian crutches, the metal ones that have the...
How do you know that?
Because I know what crutches spinal bifida people
Yeah. He did have that.
That was my profession before I got into
Whoa. I thought you were psychic.
I'm psychic too, Bobby.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
Oh. So Fred goes, what do you want? And I go, hey, there's a help wanted sign. He goes, oh, you're the kid that, works next door. And I go, yeah, because I used to get change, He goes, well, you'll wash dishes? I go, yeah. And he goes, all right, fill out this paperwork. And I got a job there, and I used to be a bar back there at open mics. I'd watch the locals go up, and I just remember going, I think I can do this, right? And then one day I went up, and then for me it happened really quick.
Did you write material before you went on?
Yeah, you think, and
how did it go?
Not good.
It was mediocre.
Yeah. No. Because the thing, here's what I've always known about myself is that I'm different. To me, it's like that's what you're looking for. In comedy, that's what's great about stand-up is that the differences make you special, right? So I knew that I look nothing like the people that were doing it. My point of view and the way I would approach it was completely different than them. And it was evident because 9 months in, all of a sudden I'm in Vegas and I'm opening for Pauly in front of 5,000 people.
And he saw you at La Jolla.
He saw me in La Jolla.
He was headlining.
Yeah.
And you were hosting?
No, I was. Here's what happened. What was great about La Jolla at the time was that if you were, I moved from barback to doorman, right? And if you were a doorman on a Saturday, right? So you have two doormen. One of them gets to host the first show, and the other one gets to host the second show. So you seat people, and then you get to do 10 minutes. It was a great setup. And you would look for, I was Saturday night guy, I would look forward to Saturday nights. Because you would get a packed room because that's how I met everyone. I mean, that's Carlos Mencia at the time was this rising Hispanic guy. He saw me also in that slot when I was a doorman. And his manager at the time, Worthy Patterson. Do you know Worthy?
Of course.
Yeah, Worthy saw me, and Worthy signed me.
I never knew you had any other manager but Abby.
No, he was my first one.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So Worthy was managing Mencia, and then Pauly saw me. And so then all of a sudden I'm at, opening for him. And this is when Pauly was big. So I was 9 months into stand-up.
Yeah, he was selling out 5,000 seats.
Yeah, it was 5,000 seats at the Riviera.
And how did you do in front of him?
I did okay.
Just okay.
But his mom was there, Missy. So Missy walked up to me afterwards, and she goes, you're a paid regular at all my clubs.
Wow.
So imagine being, I'm sober. I'm 23. I had never been with a woman aside from a prostitute. You're right? And now my world is opening up, right? Now it's like, oh my God, there could be a life outside of just this day-to-day grind of waiting tables and working at coffee shops.
So that was the first time when she said that to you. That's the first time that you said to yourself, I'm not doing coffee shop work. I'm not going to even do the bar back thing at the Comedy Store anymore.
Well, no, because I remember going back And, it's so funny because you say that because, during the Oscars, the ad for my sitcom, and I got a text from this lady named Megan Lee, who owns a restaurant called the Brockton Villa in La Jolla. And Megan texted me, goes, congratulations on the new show. I love you, whatever. But Megan, it's a great restaurant, by the way, but she was one of the early people that, like, if I got back to San Diego, she would, no matter what I was doing, she'd always give me shifts at her restaurant to make ends meet. So I could go, hey, I'm doing these shows these nights. Can I work this night? And she was so accommodating to me because she knew that I had this dream, right? And she was cool in that way. And that's why whenever I see Megan, I thank her. Because even when Missy made me a paid regular, I still had to go back to San Diego and work. So I worked at the store as a doorman, and I used to, early mornings, have to do morning shifts at this restaurant.
What was the first thing that happened where you said, I'm quitting all the day jobs, I'm a full-time stand-up and actor?
Well, I mean, Pauly basically one day, what happened was, in San Diego, I became an enemy of all the comics there.
Why?
I don't know.
But San Diego really didn't have a big comedy scene.
I know, but still, the locals became. I just didn't have enough allies down there, and it just wars broke out between me. It's just I could tell you stories, a million things, and I could tell you also that a lot of it has to do with me and my poor attitude and my ego or whatever. But let me just tell you this, that I wasn't, in terms of the comedy scene in San Diego, I wasn't beloved, and I wasn't loved in any kind of way, and I don't give a f***.
And so, but you came to L.A.
and I was absolutely broke. I remember living out of my truck the first couple of weeks, and I remember Jimmy Schubert.
But you decided, I'm not taking a day job. I'm going to stay the course.
I'm going to go to L.A., and I'm going to ask my parents to help me. And every month was a fight. I need money.
Even though they were doing so well.
No, at that time, they went bankrupt.
They went bankrupt?
Yes.
Wow.
They had no money. And so I said, I need money. We don't have any money. I'm going to die. It was like fight every month. They would send me $300-$400 a month, right? And then I was living on my truck. And then I remember one day, Jimmy Schubert, I was sleeping in my truck, and he said, hey, kid, you hungry? I go, yeah, he bought me a sandwich. I'll always remember that. All these little things that comics did for me back in the day, I will always remember.
What are a few you can tell the audience?
I mean, the Shores. The Shores gave me a lot of shifts at the store. They gave me spots. And eventually I moved in, to Pauly's house, but it didn't happen right away. I moved into a place called The Dumpster, which is in Silver Lake. It was this apartment that like 15 people were living in, a one-bedroom apartment. And my brother moved to LA too after he graduated, and we all lived at The Dumpster. And we.
How much was that a month?
$100. I don't even remember. We had homeless people live there. It was the worst. I used to get boils on my face because I couldn't wash. You know what I mean? And I was so stressed out because I had no money. I couldn't eat. And I had boils on my face. And people were like, "You look like shit." I look like shit. But what ended up happening was I met Abby.
Abby Leviton.
Yeah, and Abby.
Where did you meet Abby? This is your manager.
I did a show called Make Me Laugh.
Yeah, Make Me Laugh, for those of you who don't know, is a show that's had 3 incarnations on television. One in the 70s, I believe. One in the 90s or early 2000s.
That one.
And there was one also. There was another one another time, but 3 incarnations of the show.
The one in the 90s is the one I did, and Abby had a client, a guy by the name of Mark Cohen.
Of course, great comedian, working at the Comedy Cellar in Vegas now as a host.
Yeah, so Mark Cohen was being managed by Abby.
By the way, I went to high school with Mark Cohen.
I can't believe it.
Anyway, so
I didn't know that he was 90. Marcone's 90. Okay, no. Don't get sensitive.
I'm crying. Keep going.
So, and Abby saw me do that little bit on Make Me Laugh, and she goes, I want to sign you.
But you were with Worthy Patterson.
I left Worthy.
To sign with her?
Yes.
Why did you leave Worthy?
Because I remember I asked Worthy if I could get a commercial agent, and he goes, hey, kid, you're never going to book a commercial.
He said you're never going to book.
He goes, it's going to be hard for you, and we'll get you one eventually. And then Abby goes, I'll get you one tomorrow.
Did she?
Yeah. And guess what? I signed with her. I got a commercial agent. And then I was at the dumpster, living in the dumpster, right? And then I didn't have a car. They towed my truck. So
You took a bite out of a car.
I took a bus
bus.
to this commercial audition for IBM. And I booked it, and it was an international campaign kind of a thing.
And for those of you who don't know about commercial money, the way it works is that each cycle it keeps going, you keep getting residuals.
But this one
money.
was different. This one was a $350,000 buyout.
Yeah, well, what happens is...
So imagine like no car, right? You know, my older manager saying, you're not going to book anything. And then Abby going, I can do it. And then immediately, I go out on this thing, right?
And you book a $350,000.
Yeah, I already life changer. You know what I mean? I went and bought a car. You know what I mean? I got a new place. I mean, it was a complete, that was my first thing.
And then you never worked again.
I still worked at the store, Comedy Store.
You still did doorman stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Why?
Yeah. Because at the time, at the Comedy Store, I was a regular, but the only way I could get spots, because I still wasn't a name, right, or anything, was by working the door there. It was out of survival. It wasn't because of financial, right? And then what happened was...
And you've been with Abby for how many years?
20 plus.
That's amazing. That's something a manager dreams of.
But not only that, before I got that IBM commercial, for 6 months, it didn't happen right away. I would go out, you know what I mean? For 6 months, she paid my rent, my light bills. She would buy me dinner. Yeah, here's the thing. That's why even back then, I met a kid named Matt. He was at the time an intern. I mean, he was doing the mailroom at Gersh. And he goes, I want to hip pocket you. I could see it. You encouraging.
This is Matt Blake.
Yeah.
One of the greatest
became an agent at Gersh. And now he's the head of the comedy department at CAA. He's still my agent.
Personal appearance agent.
Yeah. So everything that I have in my life, who represent me, has everything to do with loyalty. It has to do with people that...
Except for Worthy.
Yeah, but, I'll be honest with you. Worthy didn't pull through for me back then. He didn't, Anyone that went to bat for me back then are my people now. And that's why, every manager in the book wanted to manage me.
And I can sit here and say I'm one of them. I
remember. Yeah,
I love what you did, but I never went to you. I just want to say that I never went to you and said, "Leave Abby. I want you to manage you."
I know, but she thought that.
I know, but I never did that.
I understand, but
I'd like you to say on record that I never.
He never did that.
Thank you.
But even when you, Three Arts, everyone, Burleson and Gray. People wanted to sign me.
Yeah, but they told you leave her.
I know. I understand that.
I never did that.
They never try to poach me. But what I'm saying is that even back then, when that happened, I didn't leave her because of loyalty. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just I love her.
Well, she loves you.
I love Abby. I love Matt and their family. And guess what? In those years when I wasn't working and things weren't going well, they stuck by me as well. Right? That's all I'm looking for in a rep is a lifelong situation where it's no matter what's going on in my career, that you're going to be there. And when things are hot and things are looking good for me, you will benefit.
That's
okay? And that's it, So as soon as I got the IBM and then a couple of months after that, Abby goes, she goes, I have a client. Her name is Lauren Dombrowski. She produces a show called MADtv. You're not going to get, Abby goes, you're not going to get it because they want Taran Killam, pretty much.
Now, this is interesting. She says what Worthy said, you're not going to get it.
No. She goes, I think you should go in there and try, right? But I know what they're looking for. What they're looking for is a young white kid.
Sound familiar? I think you should go in there and try.
Yeah. You just go in there and give it a go. And I go, well, I'm not a sketch guy. Just do it. All right? So I went in there, and at the time, Nicole Garcia was, and she...
Nicole Garcia was the casting director. Now she's a manager.
She's a manager now, yeah. But Nicole, I did it, and she was like, yeah. I thought she was going to go, thank you. And then I would never see her again. Right? That's what normally goes on. They say it like that way, too. Like, go yourself. Thank you.
But Bobby, you went on your first audition of your life, and you booked a $350,000 job without trying.
Yeah, but but all those. Yeah, but after that, I went out a bunch. You know what I mean? And before that, it was like my first couple, so I had already been rejected. Come on, man.
Okay.
I'm just cutting to the chase. These stories, man.
Sorry.
But it happened quickly, but still in it.
So what happened in the room?
She goes, for the first two were terrible. The characters, I go, I know, all right, bye. And she's like, no, but that last one was good. I go, good, bye. And she's like, no, can you come back next week and work on a couple of other things? So the next week I go back. She goes, oh, yeah, you took my notes for that. That's good. That needs improvement. And every, week or maybe every 3 days I would go in there.
And when did David Saltzman come into the casting session?
By the 8th, 9th one.
And David was the guy who helped create the show and was the producer of the show with Quincy Jones.
So by the 8th, 9th one, it just got bigger, the room, and then it got narrowed down, and eventually it was like me, Taran Killam, and a couple of other people. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, am I going to get this? Still, though, I'm a doorman. Still, I do have a little money from the IBM thing, but, you still think. And then I tested, and I got it. And they hired me and Taran Killam. Taran Killam at the time was way obviously before SNL. He was a 17-year-old kid. He was dating Amanda Bynes. And I remember, because Taran just did my podcast, I remember him. We have talked about this. We sitting there, and I'm just looking at him going, you're going to get this. And he was like, no, you're going to get it. You're a minority, and whatever, back and forth. And when we both got it, we were just so ecstatic. And I remember that first year was great and also hellish, but that was the kind of the beginning of now I was like, okay, I quit the store. So I quit the store because now I have this job. And I also got the Tonight Show. When I got that, I got Leno. So I did Leno. It kind of like, I put a stamp on like, okay, I'm a stand-up as well. And so I was 29, 30, And that was it. That was the beginning of, me working.
1,
2,
3,
4,
5,
5,
6.
6 degrees of separation.
Okay, 6 degrees of separation. I'm going to mention a name. Tell me whatever comes to mind. Could be a sentence.
Okay.
Academy Award winner Jordan Peele, and Academy Award winner and former MADtv cast member Jordan Peele.
Joy. I mean, it's so, because I texted him when he won. It's like I remember when he got the show and he didn't have a car and he was living in a 1-bedroom apartment with really no furniture. He likes toys like I do. We're both a big fan of like designer toys, and we are also very similar, just instincts about things, Not that I have his talent. I'm just saying that him and I connected right away. And I remember would drive to, Hollywood Center Studios, which is on Santa Monica Boulevard, where MADtv was being shot. And I went driving he would always be walking to work. He had no car, and he had this like kind of walk, right? And at the time, he smoked a lot of pot, so he just seemed lost, you know. And I remember picking him up. We would go there. I mean, we spent many years on that show together, and to see him get that, it's just like it's mind-boggling. And he's one of the greatest people I've ever met. So, joy.
Larry David.
Love, respect. I mean, I did Curb, and this is when I was on Mad. But like, I remember in my head going, you know, at the time, MADtv was considered to be SNL's bitch. We were their sister sketch show. Not sister. I don't know. Explain. It was just not. It wasn't respected, right? So I remember doing Curb, knowing that I'm finally doing something that people respect and the industry it respects. And I remember Larry being, I said hi to him the other day. He's the nicest guy in the world. But I remember him and Jeff, and that was like the beginning of me knowing Larry Charles to do The Dictator, right? So Larry Charles, you know, Jeff Garland, they were all so nice to me.
Sacha Baron Cohen.
I mean, you're just naming people that there's no.
I was just saying about the whole experience.
Oh yeah. I love all them. Give me somebody I hate, and I'll be real.
Seth Rogen.
I like him. I like him a lot.
James Franco.
Don't know. Question mark.
Sorry. Ben Kingsley.
I mean, the week that I worked with him, I'm in awe of him. You know, it's so funny. You do, you know, you've heard my story. You know, you do open mics, and you just move along this path. And you know, in the 6 years of my, I got lucky quick, but there was a lot of struggle there, a lot of broke times, a lot of open mics, a lot of like, and you just kind of think to yourself, I'm never going to fucking make it. This is terrible. I mean, you'd sign up, and then at 8, and at 1:30 in the morning, you get to do 3 minutes in front of nobody, right? And that's what it's like for years. To go from there to being in a scene with him, you get a glimpse of like what it could be like. You get a glimpse of the dream, right? And you also get a glimpse of how, you know, the big leagues, right? You're doing scenes with people that like they set it up and they're doing his coverage, but I'm like behind the camera, and he's like, "Bobby, can you say a little faster?" You know, so that you know what I mean? I'll do it faster, right? I can't fucking I'm here, right? And you do it, and you know, it's just one of those things in life where you lay in bed and you go, "That's cool, that happened," you know. But you know, so I'm in awe of him.
Seth MacFarlane.
I love him. I think his casting director for Family Guy lied to me once, and I had kind of a falling out with this lady. But I love Seth.
Edward Norton.
The nicest can be. I remember like that one again. Another.
Did you improv that scene where he slapped him?
No, but I remember him going. That was. I mean, he looked at me and goes, "That was great, man. That was fun, man." Huh? I go, "Yeah." He's like, "So what do you think about if we did this and that?" Like he was like, I remember him going, like, "We should try this or whatever," and in my head I'm going, "I'll do whatever you say because I'm nothing," right? But he's like trying to, ask my opinions about things. So I just have a great feeling about him.
Jay Leno.
Let me tell you something. Because at that time when I got the Tonight Show, I got MADtv, but it's not as if I was swimming in money at the time. I mean, I had saved up the, IBM, but, I put a lot of that in, I'm Korean, so I invested all of that, So I'm very Korean in that way, I still have some of that money, by the by. But anyway, I still, I made it to the Tonight Show, and my brother was there, and my brother had a skateboard, and my brother and I were sitting there. I was shaking.
With weed on the bottom?
No. Call back. Oh, you're so good. callback, guys. And I remember Jay. I get a knock, and then I open it. It's Jay, and he walks in. He goes, "Hey, you're a Comedy Store comic, huh?" I go, "Yeah," and he sits down. My brother's so nervous. My brother's skateboard is going like this. You know, but you can hear the, you know, and I'm trying to, you know, there's an old term, fake it till you make it, right? You don't think that you deserve to be there. You think you're a fraud, but you have to pretend that you're, you know, there for a reason, right? You're like, you know what you're doing. So, you know, you're in your head, like, listening to what he's saying, but in your head you're going, I'm going to bomb, right? This is going to be terrible, right? But I just remember it being like another one of those magical things. As a young guy, you just, you know, these are things that you never thought that could happen, and then, you know, these things are happening. And, you know, when you're in the moment and you're I'm not from show, like a lot of these guys, like Paulie was raised with it, right? But I was raised in the suburbs, San Diego. My parents are immigrants. They don't speak that much English. I don't have any connection to Hollywood in any way, right? So when you're now going, oh my God, I can't believe that I'm here, it becomes really magical almost. You know, it's almost as like, am I dreaming? You know, now I'm jaded as right? But, you know, at the time, those little things were like amazing.
All right, this is the last thing I do.
Please.
Proudest moment.
It's like a sweatshop in here.
Sorry, this is the last thing I do is these little three things. Proudest moment in show business.
There's a lot of proud moments, you know, you can't really narrow it down to one thing. I think my proudest moment is, because I didn't really get into this, but I told you that I was sober, right? So when I got MADtv, I relapsed. And I went into a 2-year drug binge.
I remember that.
Yeah. I was doing 60 Vicodins a day, drinking 24 hours a day. I wouldn't show up to shoots. I would bail table reads. I was on the precipice of being fired.
But they supported you.
They tried, yeah. And then after 2 years, they did fire me. And as soon as they did, it's not that they called and said, you're fired, but, you know, my contract, my agent was like, they're not going to pick it back up. You're done, right? So I went into rehab again, right? And I got sober, and they called me back because they knew that I was doing better, and they go, we're going to give them a trial run. It's in that little chunk that I'm proud of because, you know, I couldn't get on the show when I first got mad. It was really hard. I didn't think that they liked me. I felt unwanted there. But what I did was I got sober and I showed up and I went, you know what? I'm going to fight for slots. I'm going to fight. And it's in that little moment where I was proud because I got to stay sober. I proved my worth and I stayed on the show for 6 more years, you know? And that was a triumph for me, you know? Sketch shows are hard. I mean, they put people into like in this pot, and they go fight, right? And you're stabbing, and and then I'm not a, in that way I'm not. So I just kind of left the pot, but I went back in, and I stayed in. I'm in the soup.
Biggest disappointment in show business and how you used it to fuel yourself to the next level.
A lot of disappointments, man. A lot of failures. A lot of, I have PTSD from auditions. I've had auditions where they were so traumatically awful. No, I'm not kidding you. Where my agents said, we got a call from them saying that what you didn't, that was terrible, right? And especially when MADtv was ended, and I had these little tiny brief situations where I had to get a job, and I failed so miserably, right? Where I just splanked. in the middle of an audition and walked out. You mean, or it was I mumbled because I was so nervous, because I was so desperate for a job, right? And then for me, because they were so traumatic, it gave me this fear of actually even going in, right? But because of Kalila, you know, I was forced to go in there, and I learned to do it.
I always thought one of the things before this last one, I always thought this one of the things about you that always blew me away about you was the fact, and then you got to go, but it's just one little thing, and then is the fact that you got jobs when you didn't try, and that created a false sense of security for you, because why try really hard when you got a $350,000 job when you didn't really try? You got MADtv when you weren't ready. And so in some great talented people, naturally funny like yourself, get gigs without trying, and then they naturally think, well, I don't have to try as hard because I already booked jobs without trying.
Yeah.
All right, last question.
No, but can I just? I want to go in there. I know. I just need to get into whatever you. I need to respond to what you just said.
Okay.
If that's okay. It's what happened is in the beginning you don't think you're gonna get it, right? Like when you first go in, you go, "There's no way I'm gonna get this. There's no way," and then you do get it, right? But then eventually you need it. You think you need it, right? I bought a house. I have mortgage, right? My ego, all those things that didn't exist before. And then you walk in there and you're just needy, right? It's in your face and your eyes. And you're just like, I need to get this. And they can sense it, right? And then it just becomes a disaster because you're just so desperate. And then when you forget a line, everything just falls apart. And then you walk out. I mean, I did this one audition where I did so poorly, I took a bottle of water and I hit my head over the head with it. And I was bleeding down into my face. You know what I mean? I would go into my car and I would burst into tears. Right? Because it's over. It's over. Right? And I would cry. Right? And tremble. And then years of that. You have to imagine after that MADtv, it was years of that. Of just like, oh. And then what happened was you get reborn and you go, oh, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a job. Right? And I also want to be happy. And I can't live like this anymore. I can't be devastated every time, and I want to be free of it. So then you gotta go, I'm just gonna do my own thing. Right? So I'm gonna do TigerBelly. We make money off of TigerBelly. I wanna do stand-up. People come out, I crush, it's mine, right? And I make money. I learned to make money through these other ways, and then all of a sudden now I'm on a sitcom. How did I get that? I don't know how. I didn't audition for it. I just got a call. They want you on this sitcom. And I go, all right, let me read it. I was gonna say yes anyway, but you read it. You go, I'll do it. And then all of a sudden it got picked up, and now, it's happening. But if that goes away, it goes away. And I'm gonna continue to do stand-up. I'm gonna continue to do my thing. And if those things go away as well, then I'll be fine.
Final question, what advice do you have for the young person who's struggling with an alcoholic parent or is doing drugs, doesn't know where he's going, doing shitty jobs, living in his car, but has a dream, and how do they get to the point to have the kind of career that you've had?
Well, at the end of the day, it's this. It's like, nothing would have happened without sobriety. I mean, stand-up wouldn't have happened if I hadn't gotten sober. Okay? So if you have a drug addiction, you're sick. You have a disease. take care of that first, right? And then you have to walk through fear. At the end of the day, yes, I have PTSD about going into auditions. Yes, doing stand-up is difficult, and it's a grind, right? But I still did those things. Without doing those things, there is no end product, right? So you have to do those two things if you're a drug addict. Take care of your disease, and then walk through immense amounts of fear, and go up and do the thing that you want to do, right? That's all I could say.
It's amazing, Bobby. You're amazing today. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you did this.
Yeah, of course.
I've been trying to get you on for 4 years.
We're here.
4 years.
Not 4 years.
5 years.
That's ridiculous.
5.
I gotta go.
5 days.
I love you, though.
I love you. Can I take a photo with you?
Yeah, of course.